Hi, I'm Damienne Dibble, and I own the Shibui Design Studio where I make jewelry, graphic designs, and some mosaics. Most of what I do now started back in the early 90s when I went to a beach and I found some sea sharks that had been tossed among the sands and the surf to the point where they were unrecognizable, but I found them beautiful in themselves. And I began assembling them into pendants, and I got so addicted to it that I began selling them in some of the shops on the Outer Banks where I originally found them, and then I sold them in Maryland and some of the shops there. Did that for about 6 years, but discovered that having living in West Virginia, that inland people tended to think of this kind of jewelry as more seasonal, and I applied for a grant to move into metal clay, which is a material that's only been around since the mid-90s. And as an ex-potter, I was intrigued with the idea of working with a clay again. I also work with beads, and I have fallen in love with gemstones in a similar way to the sea sharks because of their inclusions, their accidental nature. You never know exactly what's going to show up in any one shape or any one size. So I began to use the word shibui to describe the sea sharks and most of the work that I do, a Japanese term from their aesthetic that means, among other things, it's a reverence for beauty as an accident of nature, like patterns in an old sidewalk, that kind of thing. So now it represents all of my work. So at this point, I'm happy to say that my work is featured in the Purple Moon Gallery in downtown Charleston, and at the Bliss Salon in South Charleston, and a shop in Maryland. Last year I was featured in the Charleston Gazette as an artist in town. I have written an article for the state publication Artworks where I described my experience with getting a grant. The important part is the more I do it, the more I love it. And it's gotten to the point now, I'm so addicted that I wake up in the morning and an idea is right there waiting for me, and I have to get to it immediately. And it's even gotten to the point where my hands and eyes know it without my having to tell them. And that's when it becomes the joy. It's a flowing process that I really love. It's almost like writing a poem. Well, having said all of that, truth is, kids, I really love doing this.